Oh, Polygon is at it again. They don't seem to ever learn. If you guys remember, in the lead up to Tears of the Kingdom, they put out this article in March of earlier this year. Much to the chagrin of Zelda fans everywhere, who quickly denounced it because they were trying to insinuate or overtly say that Link was trans, or at least in some part of the LGBT community, which we all know is absolutely false, and at least real Zelda fans know that. Your boy doesn't have a Master Sword behind him, or a Ganondorf statue, just because I think it looks cool. Nah, it doesn't just give me nerd cred. I'm a legitimate Zelda fan and have been for a long time, and many Zelda fans the world over were quick to say, stop this nonsense. Well, Polygon didn't listen, because they have now doubled down, but in a way that's quite funny, because they're full-on acknowledging at this point that Link isn't gay because Nintendo more or less says so in Tears of the Kingdom. Welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idle, and let's go over this trash article from Polygon because it's been a while since I've got to just dunk on Polygon and talk about The Legend of Zelda. But before we do, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to get to the 2,000 subscriber mark before the end of the year, and with less than 350 subs to go, I think we might just do it. You get to listen to me, get the nerdy news, and learn all about how video games and pop culture are being ruined and what you can do to stop it. Let's get to the article, shall we? How queerness became the calamity in Tears of the Kingdom. Breath of the Wild sequel closes the door on queer readings. Well, there shouldn't have been any queer readings. That door shouldn't have been open to begin with. But that being said, these individuals, they come up with these headcanons because they've got a fetish for it. So let's see what they've got to say so that we can have fun debunking it. Many players have celebrated The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild for the space it made to find queer expression in Hyrule. Its story provided just enough possibility space for players to explore in ways that did not conform to the developer's intent. Well, hey, the first paragraph fan, at least where, they're being honest and the developers didn't intend it. They weren't over there in Nintendo going, this is for all those American kids that want to see a queer Link. Let's do this for them. Woo! Pride, rainbow flags. No, they weren't doing that. So at least they acknowledge out the gate, this is headcanon, this is fan fiction, no matter how badly they want it to be real. Stepping into Hyrule Field again in Tears of the Kingdom felt much more constrained. Players have been looking for gender in this generation's iteration of Link since before Breath of the Wild released. Donning his tunic's now iconic champion blue, Link's androgyny in the game's very first teaser trailer back in 2014 stirred mainstream audiences to scrutinize the player's character's presumed gender. No, it didn't. Mainstream audiences? Ain't nobody in 2014. First of all, even in 2023, there's no mainstream audience that's looking for queerness and whatnot in their games. That's not happening. You got fringe individuals on the left that are absolutely doing that, but your average gamer, your average audience member is not doing that, and it definitely wasn't happening in 2014. As early as they had come into question, so too did the character's entire identity. The idea of a female hero of time simmered. Well, this isn't the hero of time. Right out the gate, Polygon is going to show that they know nothing about The Legend of Zelda. They just have an agenda they want to push. They've got propaganda that they want to propagate because they're calling this version of Link the hero of time. The hero of time is Link from Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. That's it. That's the hero of time. Also technically Twilight Princess, but it's the hero shade. Point is, this isn't the hero of time. You can call it Hero of the Wilds, whatnot, but this goes to show that they don't care about The Legend of Zelda. They don't care about Nintendo. They don't care about the fans. All they care about is using a popular IP to try and propagate their message. If the character shown wasn't Link, maybe it was a playable Zelda. Everyone knew it was Link. No one was speculating that the Link in the 2014 Breath of the Wild trailer was Zelda. Everyone knew it was Link. It looked like Link. Nintendo would eventually address the speculation. Zelda producer Eiji Aonuma said that nothing so revolutionary as a woman was in the works, explaining that changing Link's gender would mess with the balance of the Triforce, while focusing instead on Zelda as a playable female character would leave Link with nothing to do. If we have Princess Zelda as the main character who fights, Aonuma asks, then what is Link going to do? Which, you know what? That's fair. The game is about Link. It's Link's story. It has always been about Link. It will probably always be about Link. Zelda has had adventures. Zelda has had other games. Zelda has had prominent roles in just about every Legend of Zelda story with the exception of Link's Awakening, and Zelda has had a very prominent role in Super Smash Bros. Ever since Melee and onward, so it's not like Zelda doesn't get love, but the mainline Zelda games are Link's story. These assumptions, and their casual misogyny, reveal that particular kinds of gender are a priori to the very land and cosmos of Hyrule. Casual misogyny. Nintendo saying Link is the main character is casual misogyny. That is how insane the individuals at Polygon and other games journalists like these are. They want to say that just calling the main character a man and saying that would give the main character nothing to do if they switched the damsel in distress character, or not even, Zelda isn't even a damsel in distress, but they said if they made Zelda the main character, it would give Link nothing to do. That's casual misogyny. How the hell define? I want Polygon to define misogyny. I want to know at this point what is and what isn't misogyny, because I have a feeling going to the gas station and picking up a soda for a woman is probably misogyny at this point, or Or maybe that's empowering because soda has sugar in it and it shows that you don't give a damn if your woman is fat. You're not trying to make them drink like soy drinks or something. It's insane. The Triforce both represents and enshrines the subordination of women to men in the kingdom's religion. What do you mean the subordination of women? Once again, say you know nothing about Zelda without saying you know nothing about Zelda. The goddess Hylia is who Zelda was the reincarnation of. She's literally a goddess. And then what about Din, Favoror, and Nehru? Also the goddesses that created Hyrule. In fact, I don't think there's a male deity in The Legend of Zelda. So you're talking about the casual misogyny of this without knowing the secrets of the lore behind Zelda, that it's almost all female-centric. Zelda is the reincarnation of a goddess, and the world was created by 4 different goddesses. What do you mean the men are in control? Zelda is the princess. Link is always out there trying to protect the kingdom for the princess. The princess runs the kingdom. So how are women subservient to men? You clearly have no concept of how the world of The Legend of Zelda works. Once again, propaganda gonna propaganda. Many fans have been disappointed in Zelda's continued sidelining. If many fans were disappointed in Zelda's continued sidelining, then tell me how Tears of the Kingdom became the highest grossing video game of the year thus far. Baldur's Gate? Nope. Resident Evil 4 Remake? Nope. Those games sold well. They are dwarfed by Tears of the Kingdom. No one has ever been upset about Zelda being sidelined. The games are called The Legend of Zelda, but they've been around since the 80s. Everyone knows the main character is Link, and that it is Link's story. It's The Legend of Zelda because that's a cool, catchy name, and it's brand recognizable at this point because it's been going on for 30 years. But Zelda has never been sidelined. Zelda has her place in the story, she's had character development, and she exists in the function that she's needed to exist. Just because she's not playable, or that she's not the main character, doesn't mean she is being sidelined. Also, to be sidelined would mean that she would have to have had a prominent role to begin with. To be put on the sidelines means that you were starting in the main role. Zelda has never started in the main role, so she was never sidelined. She has always been in the same position, but I digress. While the developer has been content to give Zelda little to do in her eponymous games, they've always been eponymous games. Oh my goodness. If I comment on every sentence, this is going to go on forever, so let's just jump to some more key points, okay? Now here's where we started getting to the good stuff, where they start talking about Tears of the Kingdom compared to Breath of the Wild, and how Tears of the Kingdom is just so, it traps you so much in the confines of the gender binary, and how it's so awful that Link is patently male and straight. Breath of the Wild's gender trouble continued closer to release, as a series of leaked screenshots reveal Link's encounter with the character of Leah outside of Grudo Town, the all-female city in Hyrule's desert. The screenshot suggested a transphobic punchline about cross-dressing, and the game would deliver on the joke, even though it wasn't transphobic in the slightest. It's a very common average joke about a dude who wears women's clothing to sneak into a town where only women are allowed to reside. So yeah, call that transphobic. Once again, just like the casual misogyny earlier, what isn't transphobic to the individuals at Polygon? They must have an incredibly fun work environment, wouldn't you think? When the game was released weeks later, players went on to find queer expression and even joy in the wilds of Hyrule. No, they didn't. They made it up. They read between the lines in a way that was not meant to be read between to make up this queer joy and this gender expression that was never there. And you know what? If that makes your head canon happy, fine, go for it, but don't try and convince me or the rest of the world that it's legit, that it's real, because Nintendo didn't intend to put that there, and it was not there. You're making stuff up because it makes you feel good on your warm and fuzzy insides, and if you want to do that, awesome, but I hope you gotta know that it's all up here. It ain't real. A cross-dressing Link was genuinely embraced among artists, cosplayers, and authors of fan fiction, because that's who you want to go to when you want, deep inside knowledge and lore about the, a fandom or a video game or a movie, whatever. You want to go to the people that write fan fiction. They're always incredibly emotionally and mentally stable, and queer expressions were captured in poetry, art, and prose. Yes, name the last gamer you walked up to that told you about the poetry they've been reading. Name the last gamer, the last legitimate gamer that talked about the prose they had been working on or the prose they'd experienced that were just so profound and life-changing. Actual gamers don't give a damn about the queer expressions in poetry, art, and prose. All of which is why I find Tears of the Kingdom so damning. It denies such space for imagination. Its narrative is ultimately not just the perpetuation of Hyrule's status quo, but it introduces new constraints that deny queer subtext and even expression where there was once room before. And we can tease out these changes by going back to the fulcrum of gender discourse in Breath of the Wild, Grudo Town. They are so upset that the game does not allow them to imagine that Link is a flaming homo anymore, when I thought all this stuff was in your head anyway. So you're telling me you you can't find some sort of reason to change your thought process, even a little bit, to, oh, well, now this works for Link being gay, now that works. Are you really so limited by Nintendo? Or are you just looking for something to bitch about because you haven't written a propaganda piece about The Legend of Zelda in a while? These are the same type of individuals that probably could write an entire think piece about why Naruto is a trans man because Jiraiya said this one line.
面白い卵を見つけたんでの。
Grudo Town is a gendered and race space, unlike the other settlements on the periphery of Hyrule. That's right, we got Polygon out here openly advocating for segregation, not just on the basis of gender, but race as well. Alongside the bird people, fish people, and rock people, the Grudo are vaguely Arabic or North African coded, all-female matriarchal society. Their culture is a site of friction and humor in both games. The Grudo are once obsessed with and scornful of men, found on pilgrimages to find their one true love, a monogamous myth perpetuated by their own teachings. A monogamous myth? Dude, this is a children's game. The fuck you mean a monogamous myth? In fact, the few Gerudos that we do see fall in love in the Zelda canon, in the Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom games, are absolutely monogamous. What do you mean the monogamous myth? You guys hate men, and I get it. Maybe they didn't give your game a good review score when they reviewed it, or maybe they decided to want to split the bill instead of pay for it all the last time they took you to a Chili's on a Friday night. I don't know what happened to you, but you gotta lighten up. Men are 50% of the world, and honestly about 70% of gamers, probably more. I'm being pretty liberal with that 70% number, so if you want, just take a chill pill and realize this is a kid's game made by Nintendo. I don't think it goes this deep. Women of all races, and apparently genderless Gorons, are welcome to Grudo Town, while men are prevented from entering by armed guard. In Breath of the Wild, many still try their luck with several characters whose personalities being a one-note joke about how funny it is to watch men chase after women when they wish to be left alone. But the Grudo do not themselves police gender. They absolutely do. Villia, who can be read as a trans woman, Villia is not a trans woman. Villia is a dude who dresses as a woman to get into Grudo Town, and it's very apparent that that's the case. But once again, you guys are grasping for any sort of straw you can because you so desperately crave to be represented in even the most minute of media, in the most minute of ways in explosively popular media, because the game is inherently transphobic or anti-gay or whatever if there is not just gayness dripping out of every porous.
I'm insane with anger!
The presence of a black market armor shop further denies any gender essentialist notions like the one suggests Villia is a man dressed as a woman. Again, Villia is a man dressed as a woman, but let's see what they got to say. In Breath of the Wild, the shop's covert dealings of Gerudo armor for men suggest there must be men in the all-female race. No. What it suggests, well, first of all, there are men in the all-female race. Gerudos go out there, they mate, they have children. Some of those children are male. Ganondorf is a male Gerudo, but males are not allowed in the Gerudo society. Now, it's also, there's this rumor that only one male is born every 100 years, but the point is, those armor is for men, not just Gerudo men, but men in general, and in the Gerudo society, it is illegal to produce clothing for men, not for Gerudo men, but it's illegal to produce clothing for men. She's effectively a drug dealer. She's a black market dealer. She found something illegal and knows there's a way to make a backdoor profit off of it because, hey, people will pay for things that are illegal. So clearly she's out there selling this to men, which she knows is illegal, which is why she says if you keep her secret, she'll keep yours being that she knows that you're actually a dude. Leaving one to assume trans men may be born of the Grudo, and while not sanctioned in the city, are integrated into their material culture. Well, you are making that up! There is no evidence, there is nothing in the game. Like earlier, you were reading between the lines, you were reaching for some stuff, and whatever. It's dumb, but have your head canon. But there is literally no evidence of any of this. You're just assuming that Nintendo, when making this game, when writing this code, when putting these pixels on screen, was like, and by the way, there's tranny Gerudos out there that we're not going to mention or talk about or portraying the game in any way, shape, or form, or have ever talked about in any past Zelda lore, or ever brought up in any sort of interviews, or anything to that effect. But yeah, by the way, just so you know, trans Gerudos are out there. The fact that there's armor for men in the game confirms it. Are you off your nut? I skipped a bunch of the article because this is already getting to be incredibly long, but there's just so much gold in here that's worthy of roasting that we have got to get into it. What pervades the land in place of calamity is not the evil of Ganon, but of gender deviance. In Tears of the Kingdom, characters often make jokes emasculating Link. At one stable, a Lurelin refugee laughs at the notion that a little skinny guy might attempt to rescue his village, while Gerudo Pilgrim jokes that Link that he couldn't possibly be her destined lover. More than one Gerudo remarks on his short stature. Well, the Gerudos are 9 foot tall Amazonian babes. Yeah, 5'5" Link is gonna have his short stature commented on. The Great Fairy Mija, however, fond of him, describes Link as a slim little lad. Again, she's a giant. She is like 12, 15 feet tall, and frankly, quite freaking rotund. So he is a slim little lad, absolutely, compared to her. Oh no, people pointing things out that are obvious to the naked eye in a video game. That's so transphobic and gender non-conforming and whatever dumb buzzwords you guys would use. And what's framed as a backhanded compliment. These comments envelop Hyrule with gendered expectations, much like gender beauty standards and social norms do in our own world. Oh no, how dare a video game base any sort of aspects of it off of real life? Weren't you just talking earlier about how great it was that the Grudo were based off of, the North African descent? Or later on in the article, I skipped over it, but you talked about how the Zonai were based on the ancient Egyptians, and you didn't seem to have any issue with it then. But now that it's bringing in your weird social concepts that you've made up in the last 10 years, now it's a real problem that's bringing in these gendered expectations. You guys can't even keep yourself philosophically consistent inside one of your own retarded articles. It turns out queer joy was only accepted in the empty, unstructured wilds of a Hyrule beholden to calamity, but in a world that's been filled by side quests, the new settlements of a monarchy reborn, a monarchy ran by a woman, by the way, there is no need for a hero who wears a skirt like a girl. And there never has been. It's always been a tunic. Tears of the Kingdom presents a Hyrule where the Triforce rests not in the trinity of the spiritual aspects of power, courage, and wisdom, but instead in the gender binary. Whoever wrote this article is probably patting themselves on the back like they're the next Virginia Woolf or something. It's absolutely maddening to see this display of idiocy getting involved in video games. Children-friendly Nintendo video games at that. Games that have been around for generations and are for all ages. And people still propagate this level of propaganda as if it's legit, as if it's real, as if it's not just headcanon. And they're absolutely insane. You can't play a popular, famous, modern video game without finding some sort of think pieces that are injecting these gender proclivities, or what I like to call them, fetishes, into every little aspect of the game. We saw it before Tears of the Kingdom came out, and we're seeing it now that Tears of the Kingdom has been a smashing success for the last several months, and that these individuals are so upset that their imagination has to be crushed by the fact that the game is, I don't know, normal? Like, what are your guys' thoughts on this? I'd love to know. Let me know in the comments down below, or let me know on X, where you can find me at Bolt the Word. And please do subscribe. I am a nerdy news channel. I cover nerdy news every day. Not always about Legend of Zelda or video games in general. Also, not even always about gender binary, non-conforming crap like this. But anything when it comes to anime, music, magic, video games, you name it, it's all here in the nerdosphere. And this has been Words of Paradise.